kind of a weird comedy sci-fi. It's probably just a, one-hit kind of thing. Like,
Well, I don't. I think when you're an actor and you do movies, you never know what you know. I didn't hand Ross Grayl. I didn't think anybody would ever even see it, And then it turned out to be, So it's always. We did a movie called The Cowboy Way, and they screened it, and it just went through the roof, and everybody was doing this huge thing, and nobody saw it. So it's always hard to kind of predict, but with Ghostbusters, all the stuff around it, was like, yeah, this is really important. In the studio, with all the buzz, all the kind of, they had done that campaign where they had the ghosts out, and we're putting people know what it meant, but they were just, so it had an energy about it, so I knew, based on the cast who was in it, that the movie would do business, and I figured we'd probably open in first place and have a good summer, and then, like most movies, it would just disappear. Because most things, they have a run, and then you see them on television at midnight, But Ghostbusters just kept going. And after 10 years, I thought, wow, this is, people still love it. I see guys, making their jumpsuits and their backpacks and turning their cars into ectomobiles, and it was like, wow, 10 years later. Because I've done a lot of movies, like I said, that didn't last the summer. And then after 15 years, people were bringing their kids, and they'd introduce their kids to the movies. And then 20 years, people are still into it, and I'd go I was over at Brussels, and there was like 50 guys in their jumpsuits, and they turned 2 cars that I'd never heard of into ectomobiles, and then the ectomobiles stopped being Cadillacs, anything, I've seen trucks that are, and now it's been over 30 years, and people still love the movie. So we did the third, I guess, incarnation of the movie. It's supposed to be a reboot with the girls playing Ghostbusters, the ladies, I should say. And we shot it this summer. We all came back, did cameos. So we all, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Sigourney, Annie Potts, did cameos in it to really support the movie. It'll be out this summer, and now they're talking about another film with guys, and so it's great to have been a part of the franchise. But no, I had no idea that it would be what it is. But I did, just by the way people love Bill Murray, especially, I knew that the movie would do well. Also, I believe that it would do really well. I just didn't know it would have the legs to continue the way it has.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
I had a question about when you first started acting. What brought you into the acting fold? Like, what was that key moment that made you decide, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to be an actor?
Well, I was working as a janitor, and no, you always have those moments in life. I grew up in a town called Benton Harbor, Michigan. It's one of the poor towns in the country, and grew up in the projects. My grandmother raised me, and her dream, she was born in 1895. So for her to get a high school education, that was like huge. So the one thing she asked me to do was get a high school education. She didn't say anything about you had to study, all I had to do was just sort of stay there and get my high school diploma. But then around the 12th grade, it started to dawn on me that I had the rest of my life to go, and I got to live it, so what am I going to do with my life? And so her other thing was to get a good job. And so for the next 3-4 years, I've really tried to get a good job. I've worked I did, it seemed like every job imaginable. Worked in the factory, I've worked I sold insurance, I worked for the telephone company. I also got married at 18. My wife got pregnant. She was pregnant for like 6 months before we knew she was having. We were not really sure. But so that was kind of my life, And then I had a fight with my wife one night. I don't remember what it was about, but it just, one of those fights when I gotta get out of here because this lady is driving me, So I got in my car and I was driving around, and I drove past this building that had a marquee, and there were people lined up outside the building. And I didn't I didn't know what it was. So I just stopped the car and went over and asked what they were lined up for, and they were there to see a play. And I thought it would be kind of interesting. I didn't want to go back home right then. So I got in line and I went in and I saw this play, and it was incredible. I mean, it was just, I sat there and the curtain came up and this thing, I don't remember the name of it, but this girl that got pregnant and her father, was disowning her and the family, and it was all this drama. It was like, wow. And when it was over, I just sat there, man. It was so cool. I mean, it was like bigger than life. And I thought, wow, man, to be able to do that, I mean, that is, it was one of those things that was so big, I couldn't even ask that in a prayer. Sometimes you want to say, God, but something's just like, I know I can't even do that, but I mean, to be able to be an actor. And then during that time, I realized that I had to, if I was going to have any kind of quote unquote good life, I had to go to college. It was, now I'm not so sure but back in those days, you had to get an education. It was kind of like the only way out. Otherwise, what are the options? So I got in college and I needed one credit that was an elective, and that was a theater, an acting class. And I took this acting class. And the first time I walked on stage, I just knew, I just knew this is, I just felt at home. I felt like, I got this. It was the first time I did a job where I felt like, I can do this. I mean, sometimes people say, you do things because you love it. And I go, yeah, I do love it, but I do it because I can do it. All those jobs I had, I kept feeling like I was going to get fired as soon as they know that I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's like, oh God, you wake up in the morning, it's like, oh my God, I got to go to work. I got to deal with these people. But with theater, it was like, I want to be here. And let me get you straight now, okay? So I learned the part, and I learned the lines, and then we'll do this thing, and then you pay me. I can do that, I'm good. So, but it was a little bit hard because I was married and I had a baby, we had a baby, and so it was hard to commit because I heard that actors could make a living in theater. They said in New York, the custodians, anybody working any kind of job in theater will make more money than the average actor. That's a fact, because they have a job. Actors, you might see an actor on a TV show, and he might make a couple $1,000, but that's just one job. And he might not work again for a year. So when you add it all up at the end of the year, it's kind of hard to make a living. And so I was a little bit leery, even though I loved it, to really commit to the acting thing. And my ex-wife, who I give her credit, I was having a conversation. I said, well, I don't really like the acting, but I don't know if I can do it. I mean, I don't know if I can make a living at it. And she said, you're broke anyway. I mean, you're not going to lose any money, so why don't you just do what you like to do? I mean, we can always hustle, money to pay the rent, and you'll be fine. And so that was right about 50 years ago. And I've always, been blessed to find a way to make a good living. Once I committed to theater, I think a lot of things in life you really have to commit to. When I say commit to it, I mean it's like you're focused there, and things have a way of unfolding. When you keep your thought, on a certain thing, then other thoughts begin to come, and the way is sort of opened up for you. I think a lot of people have trouble because they want to go there, but then they got this other thing that they have to take time out to deal with, and then before they can get back on this, there's something else comes up, and so they never really give that kind of commitment. But I think the universe unfolds in a way that you can't hold a thought without it delivering more, and it'll bring it to fruition, because that's the asking that, for those who are religious, the Bible talks about asking, it's given. It's those things that are if it's on your mind, if it's coming to you, the universe is feeding that to you. And if it's good, and if it's right, there's a path for that. But you have to accept the fact that this is something that's coming to me, and it's personal. And it's not out of the, I mean, if somebody told me I'd be an actor, or the chances of making a living, I don't know any actors, anybody who could, you know, I mean, that's like, see actors in magazines or something, I don't know any of these people, they didn't even seem real. It's like they lived on Mount Olympus somewhere, you know. They lived in this place, Hollywood, and they had swimming pools, and they flew on jets, and nothing to do with my world. But I think it's not something we have to figure out. It's something that is given to you, it's meant for you, but you have to trust it. My grandmother who raised me, she said, when the children of Israel was fleeing from Pharaoh, and Pharaoh's army was chasing them, and they got to the Red Sea, and then they were trapped, and they didn't know what to do. God parted the waters, and so they went across. And when Pharaoh came with his army, the waters came and swallowed them up. But she said the important thing to remember, there's two versions of that in the Bible. One version says that they had to step into the water. It requires you to step out there without knowing. I mean, you step into the water knowing it's going to part. You just have to kind of step out there, and then the miracle happens. And then it's a different world. So I know it's a long-winded answer to the question, but you know, but I think there, as I get older now, I think there are a lot of yeah, I think this is my calling. This is what I was meant to do. It just took me a while to sort of find to find that space where I could accept it. And so that I could allow the universe to give to me what I was asking for. A lot of people pray for things, but my grandmother used to say that you have to watch as well as pray, because sometimes people keep praying and things that keep coming to them, but they're so busy praying they never see them. Yeah. So you have to be aware that it's definitely coming. So, I'm just saying.
Very prophetic.
Yeah, maybe get too deep. I know it's not Sunday yet.
It's all right. It's all right. Anybody else? Burning questions? Yes.
What was the camaraderie like on the set of Ghostbusters?
Well, it was great. It was great. What was the camaraderie like on the set of Ghostbusters? Was the question. And it was great working with the guys. But it was a little difficult because it was. I had been in movies before, but it was the first big movie. And so I was a little bit outside of the group. The group, Danny Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, they were already famous. They had been on Saturday Night Live, which I never watched. You know, so I didn't really know them. I didn't really know their work. I just knew that they were already established. And so the studios will cater to people who they feel, you know. In other words, we can be in the same movie, but the studio will, if they want him, they will go out of their way. They'll do everything. They will do things for him you can't even imagine. But if they think you're not as important, then you don't get the attention. You know, I remember reading about the Three Musketeers, and I think the third Musketeer made less than a tenth of what the other two made, but you know, he just wasn't important. So I was outside of that. So it was almost like having dinner at a you know, family's house, and you're the outsider though, you know what I mean? So you're kind of there, but the guys are great, you know, and the studio, I felt kept creating a distance that the guys sort of thankfully overlooked, you know, but it was difficult in a way. I mean, I think any job you work, it's always, you know, it's a job. You're dealing with people, and people are unpredictable and sometimes very annoying. All of those things went in play. So I'm like, oh my God, it was just so funny. We laughed every day. No, it was times when people got on your nerves and you just went to your dressing room. But it's all about the work. You know, I think it's important to commit to something in a way that you know, the professionalism of what you do cannot be compromised. People who are really, you know, say they're about something, but they're kind of loose about it. You know, people say, well, I'm an actor, and then they show up and they don't know their lines, or they're late. And things that, you know, that is not, no, it doesn't work like that in my mind. You know, there's a certain commitment. So it was a lot of fun. The guys are great. I love them all. I consider them all friends. Sigourney and I had gone to Yale together. And so I kind of knew her a little bit, but it was still a challenge at times, you know, and yeah. So. But I'm now 30 years later, you know, it's funny, you'll do a movie and sometimes there are a lot of little stresses, little things. But years later when you watch a movie, you don't remember I guess life is like that, you know, you remember all the nonsense. Unless it's a big nonsense, you know, that just hangs there. But, you know, you remember the fun stuff, the good times. I mean, it's, so I'm glad to have been a part of it, you know, and, you know, and I like the movie, you know. I don't know if the studio had planned for the Winston character to really be a part of the group. But I know the guys always made me feel like that, so it was great. Yeah, it's great. I'm thankful now. Frustrated, you know. I see the toys and I'm kind of go, well, wait a minute, that's my picture. So what is the money? I mean, what's the rate for this thing? But you know, they had a powerful representative. I had somebody who was so happy to have an actor in the movie, so didn't negotiate the contract well. And you have to live with those agreements, whether you like them or not. So it was a lot of frustrations, but it was, at the end of the day, I'm glad I was there. Yeah.
Well, nice, guys.
My question pertains to the longevity of the movie. Like, I was rewatching it a couple months ago and it struck me. It's really a timeless movie. And when you look at a lot of the pop culture of the 80s in general, it comes across as dated or doesn't have the same amount of longevity. Like, if you could take people who were 18 to 25 and they're going to know Ghostbusters.
Right.
The same group of people might not know something like St. Elmo's Fire. So what do you attribute to the longevity of the movie?
Well, I think there are a lot of movies and some sort of, you know, we're all connected. I know we all like to think we're all individual, part of the American, you know, sense of itself is that we're all these individual trailblazers. But the truth of the matter is we're all connected in a way. I mean, we sort of live the same stories, I mean, on different levels. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, people will see the differences, but, you know, I have kids, you know, I'm, you know, the things that probably matter a lot to you probably matter a lot to me. I mean, we're all in this mix together. And there's some movies or there's some stories that touch us in a universal way. And that's why it plays in Greece or in Rome or someplace else. People connect to the truth, you know, that it registers with us. You know, so every time I see a story of a father and their children reconciling something, it makes me cry because I'm a dad. And so it doesn't matter whether, you know, it's a, you know, I don't know, Israeli movie about a dad or it's a Russian movie about a dad. There's something in that theme. So there are certain movies I think that touch all of us in a very personal way. When I went to the 30th anniversary showing of Ghostbusters, that I wasn't on the poster, but when I went to see the screening, I was amazed because there were grandparents there with the little grandkids, and they were all watching the movie and laughing at different things, but it has that universal thing. Some movies are kind of very personal. You watch them because you happen to be into this thing, and it's not trying to reach everybody's just reaching those, and so a lot of people don't relate to it. So, but some movies, and I think Ghostbusters, we're all a little bit afraid of, no matter what, the whole spiritual, religious theme sort of plays through our culture and around the world. We all believe on some level in something. And so there's always what happens, because we all face death. We all know that at some point we have to make a transition, like it, don't like it, doesn't matter. And so there's a little bit of that. And Ghostbusters is one of those movies that sort of deals with it, and it deals with it in a very funny way. I mean, we get scared, but then we can laugh at it, and we can be a little, cocky about it, and we can, so I think it makes us laugh, and then it makes us it scares us a little bit, and that suddenly, the God comes out of the sky. Oh my God, it's the God who's gonna, the Marshmallow Man, the end of the world, all those themes that it's kind of all there, and I think people can relate to it, no matter who you are. And then other movies that are just fun for, for a certain group. So I think that's what, I think, but that's what I think. Sure.
Cameo in Ghostbusters 3?
Yeah, we all came back and did a cameo, and I'm not allowed to talk about what it was. I'm not a Ghostbuster in Ghostbusters 3, but it's I suppose a parallel universe, and in that universe, I will say the cars, very similar to the other cars, just not as cool. I thought, you got 30 years to come up with something. You can't come up with something better than that. Really. I'm not being critical, but like the uniforms. Really. We were cool. Way cool.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen I'm sorry.
No, have I seen what?
Have you seen the completed film? Is it actually finished?
Yeah, I think they're finishing. It's coming out in June. I haven't seen.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it, but I think it's gonna be funny. It's a good script, funny, and the ladies are funny. But I did see the costumes, and I did see the car. And, oh well. I'm just saying.
I was thinking the same thing. I saw some video on.
Yeah,
I was
come
like,
on.
it's the same thing.
Yeah, same thing, just not as cool.
Yeah.
But the story and the special effects, the things they can do now that we couldn't do, I'm sure it's going to be really, really cool. And I think we're still a little bit afraid of when you're a little kid, who's in the closet when the lights go out, all those things that we're a little bit, that is still, part of who we are. We're all a little bit afraid and, being kind of macho and pretending, whistling in the dark or something. So I think it'll do very well. I think there's a place for the movie.
Cool. Speaking of 30 years ago, can you give us some Winston from 30 years ago?
Some Winston?
Yeah. Give some of your best Winston lines.
My best Winston lines. It's funny, you do lines and you don't think that people remember them, but it turned out the first movie especially, there were a lot of lines that, that sort of people, especially do the conventions, people come up and, I've been with these men for, I don't remember the lines. Fans tell me the lines.
Right.
So many years, and you believe me, Your Honor, I've seen shit that'll turn you white.
Yeah.
That's a big Twinkie. Tell them about the Twinkie. This job is not worth $5.29. It's funny. It's like there's so many quotes from the first movie. I can't think of one quote from the second movie. It's weird. I can't think of, but the first movie was full of them. But there are people. I think the second movie was very family friendly, and so kids love the second movie. The Statue of Liberty, the first movie was a little edgy. I was watching it, like I said, at the 30th anniversary, and some of it was a little, Bill Murray saying, Sigourney saying, "I want you inside me," and like, oh, that's kind of. I'm looking at the kids, so they get it. Yeah. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun, and but I've been very blessed. Over the last 50 years, I've done. Ghostbusters is one, but I've done other films that I'm just as proud of. Yeah. So. Yeah.
So as far as roles, do you have a preference? Do you lean towards more like comedy or serious? What's your preference? Or just anything that pays bills?
Well, when I decided to become an actor, when I took that leap and said, okay, I'm going to do this, and this is my life, it became clear to me that if you want to do something, you want to be able to do it for a long time. I work with a lot of people who kind of lucked up, and because they had a certain thing, and got a job and made a lot of money, did a series, or did a movie or a couple of movies, and then they disappeared. And I wanted to be able to do this thing for the rest of my life. So I knew that to do that, you have to prepare, you have to lay the foundation, you have to get the training, you have to do, because I want to be around. And you have to be able to do, I didn't care whether it's a comedy like a Ghostbusters or something really dramatic. I got to go in and I got to get this job. And so I think it helps to be able to be good at what you do, and you have to be able to do it all. So in other words, a voiceover work or theater. I did a play on Broadway a couple of years back. You have to be able to, if you're going to make a living, because if I just waited for comedies to come along, but I got to walk in the room and convince whoever it is that I'm the best person for the job. Because the common belief is who you know. Apparently I'm not that friendly, because I ain't got a lot of friends. Okay? Nobody's giving me a job because they like me. It's just not mine. I have friends who are very good at that. They get to know somebody well, and then I don't get that. They gave me the job because they believe, I assume, that I'm the best person for the job. Because I had an instructor once who said, I hate to tell you this, but if you think you're going to get a job because you're so good looking, it's like, it's not going to happen. And you're not that funny. So you're not going to get a job because of your charming personality. You just got to go in there and convince them that you're the best person for the part. And that's sort of been my, you got to be prepared. Even now, you're going in and people say, oh, well, you're Ernie Hudson, but I don't assume that that's going to necessarily get me the job. Yeah, so.
I had kind of a question that was kind of piggybacks on his.
Yeah.
I've noticed that regardless of the genre of the film that you're in or whatever production, you seem to have an authoritative figure. Like if you're, in a lead position.
Yeah.
Is that something that you kind of want to do, or is it just that, you come into those roles as like, if you're like, a lead detective on something or whatever, or,
Well, I think people, with actors especially, they're, you can play a character that's very different, but ultimately it's you. I used to think that as an actor I could be a totally different person. Well, you can't. It's going to be you in a different situation. That character might have a different background, so his perspective on life